The wind screamed across the shattered plains of Tarka IX, a barren world once lush, now turned to ash under alien conquest. Broken cities lay beneath a blood-colored sky, their spires melted, their rivers blackened. The last resistance outpost stood at the base of a ruined arcology, half buried in sand and bones. Captain Elias Kael stood at its gates. His combat armor scorched, visor cracked, lungs raw from days of fighting. Around him, the remnants of the 3rd Earth Expeditionary Unit were silent. Fewer than 30 humans left from 1,000. Above them hovered the alien dreadship, Valorai's Fong, blotting out the sun. Its massive form pulsed with violet light, alive, almost breathing. The alien warrior who stepped down from it was unlike any Kael had ever faced. She was tall, easily 8 feet, and clad in living armor that shimmered like molten steel. 4 crimson eyes glowed with contempt, and a blade of plasma hung from her gauntlet like a Fong ready to strike. Her voice was sharp enough to cut air. "Kneel or die." The translation drone echoed her words in the air, flat and emotionless. Kael wiped blood from his mouth. Then he smiled, that quiet, dangerous human smile that had haunted alien war rooms since first contact. "You've been trying to kill us for months," he said. "How's that been working out for you?" A murmur rippled through the surviving humans, half terror, half pride. The alien, Commander Xyra of the Valare Dominion, tilted her head. Her facial plates shifted, showing what her species considered amusement. Defiance even in ruin. Typical human malfunction. Kael stepped forward, boots grinding into the dust. "You call it malfunction. We call it humanity." The fall of Tarka IX. 2 months earlier, the Dominion had invaded Tarka IX, one of the last neutral worlds in the Orion Corridor. Humanity's colonies were still rebuilding from the frontier wars, and Earth itself was light years away, too far to help. The Valare swept across the surface like a tidal wave of fire. Their weapons used plasma fields that melted steel, their ships were alive with symbiotic tech, and their warriors, each one trained from birth, considered humans primitive vermin. But the humans fought anyway. From bunkers, from trenches, from burned-out skyscrapers, they fought. Kael remembered the first day vividly. The sky cracking open, the capital falling, and his commanding officer, General Salas, shouting, "We hold this ground. We don't kneel to gods we don't believe in." By the 2nd week, the general was dead. By the 3rd, command was gone. By the 4th, Kael had taken over. Now, at the end of all things, only 30 of them remained, and one alien commander had descended to crush the last ember herself. Tooth the warrior and the human. Commander Xyra approached slowly, her blade hissing as it met the cool air. "Your people are finished," she said. "You are broken. Why continue?" Kael chuckled, voice dry and hoarse. "Because you don't get it." She frowned. "Enlighten me before you die." He pointed to the ruins around them, the smoking towers, the shattered transports, the burned flags. "You think victory means destroying everything in front of you. For humans, victory means standing up one more time than we fall." The alien's eyes narrowed. She had seen this before. This refusal, this stubborn spark that no plasma blast could burn out. Her species called it the human paradox. "You cannot win," she said again. "Maybe not," Kael replied. "But you'll remember we didn't bow." A silence fell. Even the wind seemed to hold its breath. Xyra raised her sword. "Then I will remember your end." But before she could strike, the ground beneath them rumbled. A low-frequency pulse rippled through the valley, the telltale hum of a human reactor. Her eyes flickered. "What have you done?" Kael smiled again, the same way he had before the Battle of Vega Prime. the smile that unnerved even his own men. You brought your dreadship close. Big mistake. 3. Operation Scorchlight. Unbeknownst to Xyra, Kael had spent the last 3 days rerouting power from the colony's broken fusion plant into a singular magnetic charge buried under the ruins, a dead man switch designed to fry anything in orbit. The plan had been desperate, suicidal even, but that was human strategy in a nutshell. When logic failed, they bet everything on madness. The pulse climbed in frequency. The air shimmered. Xyra's ship above began to twitch, its living hull convulsing. Alarms echoed in her native tongue across her comm channel. Impossible, she hissed. You'd destroy your own world. Kael's grin only widened. It stopped being our world the moment you landed. She lunged forward in fury. The plasma blade swept through the air. Kael barely rolled aside. It cut a trench into the ground, molten rock splattering his armor. He grabbed a fallen rifle, its power cell half dead, and fired 3 shots, each one sparking off her armor harmlessly. She advanced relentlessly, each step like thunder. You cannot kill me, she snarled. Maybe not, he said, bracing his stance. But I can make you feel human, just once. Then he charged. For the duel. It wasn't skill that drove him. It wasn't even anger. It was defiance. Kael swung his rifle like a club, parrying the plasma edge, the heat searing through his gauntlets. He dodged, struck, ducked again, every motion clumsy but fearless. Xyra was faster, stronger, built for war. Yet every time she struck, he was still there, refusing to fall. He bled from 6 cuts. She bled from none, until one strike glanced off her shoulder, leaving a line of black blood sizzling in the dirt. Her roar echoed across the plains. You dare wound me. Just evening the score, Kael spat, coughing blood. Above them, her ship screamed, systems overloading as the reactor pulse built toward detonation. She struck again, this time sending Kael sprawling into the sand. His helmet cracked open, one eye swelling shut. Still he looked up at her and smiled, teeth bloodied. You should probably leave, he said. Your ship's dying. So will you. Yeah, he said softly. But I'll die human. He reached behind him and hit the detonator. Beat the light that burned the sky. The explosion wasn't fire, it was light. A wave of pure energy erupted from beneath the ruins, slamming upward into the heavens. The dreadship screamed as its living core vaporized, tendrils curling, metal screaming like a dying beast. The blast ripped the atmosphere, carving a wound across the planet. For a moment, everything was silent. Then came the roar, the shock wave flattening the valley. When the dust settled, there was only a crater, and 2 figures at its center. Kael lay broken, armor in pieces, chest rising shallowly. Xyra stood over him, armor cracked, one arm gone, eyes dimming. You destroyed everything, she whispered. Yeah, Kael murmured. We're good at that. She stared down at him. This fragile creature, this reckless, infuriating species. He had chosen death over submission, ruin over obedience. And somehow, she understood. Why smile? She asked quietly. You've lost. He turned his head slightly, eyes barely open. Because we made you feel. Her eyes widened. He was right. For the first time in her warrior life, she felt something alien, sorrow, respect, fear. The plasma blade flickered out. 6. Aftermath. When the Valare rescue fleet arrived 2 days later, they found Commander Xyra alive, barely, and the human dead beside her. His body had been untouched by scavengers. She had stood guard the entire time. She was taken back to the Dominion, honored for surviving, but she spoke little. In private, she refused to recount the battle. Rumors spread. They said the human had infected her mind with some kind of psychological virus, a curse of empathy. They said she hesitated in later battles. And in time they said she vanished, gone from command, her ship never seen again. 7. The message. Months later, a human salvage team arrived on Tarka IX to search for survivors. In the crater where Kael had fallen, they found something unexpected. Not his body, but a small metallic capsule buried in the dirt. Inside was a recording. Kael's voice crackled to life. "If anyone finds this, tell Earth we didn't kneel. Not once." Static. Then silence. They buried the capsule at the new human memorial in orbit, a ring of shattered ships circling the planet like a crown. Every year, new recruits of the Earth Defense Corps were brought there for initiation. They would stand before the memorial and hear Kael's last words. "We don't kneel." And across the stars, wherever the Dominion whispered of war, that phrase spread like wildfire. Entire fleets hesitated before engaging humans, haunted by tales of a soldier who smiled at death. Xyra's return. Years passed. The Dominion fractured. Internal wars, rebellions, and whispers of dissent. And in the chaos, a single rogue vessel began targeting Dominion warships. It struck with surgical precision, freeing human prisoners, destroying factories, vanishing before counterattack. The humans called it the Ghost Fong. One intercepted transmission confirmed the impossible. "This is Xyra, formerly of the Dominion. I kneel to no throne and no god." The human was right. She had taken Kael's creed, his defiance, and made it her own. 9. The legacy of a smile. Decades later, long after Tarka IX became legend, humanity's fleet carved its place in the stars. Their ships bore names like Kael's Honor, Defiance, and Tarka's Flame. Children in domed colonies learned of the soldier who faced a godlike warrior and smiled. They drew his symbol, a single line and circle, representing an unbroken stance, across their helmets before battle. And somewhere, in the dark expanse of space, an alien warrior looked to the stars and whispered a name she could never forget. Elias Kael. She kept his smile alive, in every act of rebellion, in every choice to fight instead of bow. Epilogue. The meaning of kneeling. Centuries later, when humans and aliens finally sat at the same table as equals, a historian asked the question that had lingered since the war. Why did that human smile when death was certain? The old soldier answering smiled too, the same small, knowing smile Kael had once worn. Because smiling, he said, was his way of saying we're not afraid. "Kneel or die," the alien had hissed. He smiled back. And in that moment, humanity's story was written in the stars, not as conquerors, not as victims, but as the species that refused to kneel.